Seit einigen Monaten hört man einen finnischen Akzent am Fraunhofer ISST. Teemu Toroi, der eigentlich an der Aalto-Universität in Finnland forscht, ist derzeit als Gastwissenschaftler am Institut. Hier arbeitet er gemeinsam mit dem Team des Fraunhofer ISST weiter an seinem Forschungsschwerpunkt, nämlich der Frage, wie Unternehmen in einem gemeinsamen Datenökosystem Werte schaffen und nutzen können und welche Fähigkeiten sie dafür benötigen. Das Interview führen wir heute auf Englisch, denn today Teemu is a guest on Die Datenräumer, the podcast of the Fraunhofer Institute for Software and Systems Engineering, alongside Julian Beer, his research partner at Fraunhofer ISST. My name is Britta Glocke and I'm curious to find out what the two of them researched together and what they've learned from each other. So, let's get started. Welcome, Teemu and Julian.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks.
Teemu, Julian, you've spent the last few months working closely together. What was the focus of your research?
Yeah, we found that we are looking at the same thing, meaning data ecosystems, and actually we're kind of looking into same phenomena from like different sides of the coin, so to say. So I'm into understanding how value is created from data and data sharing, and especially in decentralized data ecosystems, which is Fraunhofer is a great place to be for that, and also the capabilities that companies, but also the ecosystem needs to be able to do that. And then Julian is, he can probably talk to more on that, but Julian is more looking on the how it will be done, whereas I'm looking a bit more on the outcomes of that.
Yeah, that's very right. So I'm looking into data ecosystems from the innovation perspective. So how innovation mechanisms are different from firms. And it was very good to have Teemu around here and discuss that from different angles. It was very good to have a sparring partner around here.
And what insights have you gained?
Well, that's a very interesting question, as it is.
Work in progress.
Work in progress. So we have the difficulty maybe here is that we have papers now in a process, and of course they're not published, so we can not go into the details yet. But I think like what we've been gravitating towards to in terms of what explains the asymmetrical value creation, or actually not the value creation, but the value capture in data ecosystems, and what can we do about it, as a participating company, or the ecosystem structure, so to say, which is an interesting problem of collective action. And that we've been looking at, like from different angles, and, it's been good exchanging. Me coming from a bit more kind of a strategy and strategy of conflict and that kind of angle, and Julia coming maybe more from the cybernetics angle.
Yeah. We can say that. And we've now been working on a couple of papers together, and what comes out very clearly that you have like this usual cycle of you have the ideation, and then you're bringing things together and discussing things, and things are forming. And I mean, if you're doing that on your own, it's quite hard. So it's as I said, very good to have like a sparring partner and go through this together. And I also felt like the creation process was faster than doing that on my own.
Absolutely. And maybe I'm sorry, we can go for, like days on this topic probably.
That's okay.
But I think, like this is a very important topic. And I think, like there's kind of recent great examples, like when things are actually just happening. So for example, on Catena Site, there's now an effort to take the SMEs on board, which I think, like is absolutely the right thing to do to kind of help the companies who may not have the capabilities to invest into that cells and have a kind of incentives getting there. And in that sense, kind of maybe sidestepping some of the barriers of, actually building the critical mass and then, like scaling some of the key use cases out there.
Yeah, and also to add, like if you're doing research, it's always good to see things from different perspectives, from different angles, and also have different use cases. Like we were talking to data ecosystems in Finland, in Germany, in the Netherlands, and I mean you need door openers. So if you have somebody talking Finnish, it's more helpful than writing an email in English that is polite, but not the mother tongue, so to speak.
Yeah,
that makes it easier.
Helps a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. And of course, we have this joke that like Finnish language is one of these kind of greatest encryption tools in the world. But nowadays, the language models actually do a reasonably good job. The other thing, like I need to just mention that we took a step on looking at the kind of data ecosystems also from the political economy point of view, which was an interesting process. And well, the paper's still in revision rounds, but I think, that's an extremely important topic, now with the recent phenomena of the US administration trying to kind of ban the utilization of the latest language models. And that's directly related to data because, again, you cannot train those models unless you have the data. And thus we need to see what we can do about it cleverly here in Europe because, again, we need to amp up our kind of game in there for sure.
And did you also find out different approaches between the different European countries you were looking at?
I think, it's not so. I wouldn't say that, it's related to countries. It's maybe more related to the kind of industry or the industry structure and the kind of organizations around there.
The funding structure.
The funding structure, and it has its benefits, but also challenges, coming towards scaling. And, there are kind of different ways that, for example, manufacturing is structured versus how agriculture is structured, etc. So it comes, there are kind of common elements that, we detail, yet there are kind of some particularities and also kind of, let's put it this way, influential and prophilic people, among the crowd as well.
And then it comes back to the capabilities, of course. Like if you have like a European funded project, there are different capabilities. If you have like a research organization and if you have a industry funded ecosystem where there are like different players, where you have different capabilities. And that's also what we are researching. And we found something nice, but I can't tell more about it now.
Yeah, well, of course, there's something we can tell, kind of back to kind of, now maybe rethinking your question a bit. So between, geographies, I think there are kind of clear differences or at least directions. So, of course, Europeans, we are doing kind of our European data strategy, which makes a lot of sense. In Southern America, Brazil is pretty much, following a similar path and kind of actually learning and utilizing the things that work around here, building it up. The administration in the US, it's trying to walk, the path really rapidly. And, of course, the larger hyperscalers are there and a lot of, really clever and talented people. Let's see, how many rounds they do, I feel that they will, in the end come back around and kind of around this, some of the basic principles that, really constitute as federated things as well. Let's see. And then again, interesting to see, what's going on in Japan and in China. So vocally in China, building data spaces and the Uranus, ecosystem in Japan, which is same but a little bit different. But looking from the kind of Japanese national economy point of view, it makes, again, a lot of sense why they're kind of building this kind of layer structure around there, yet looking for the kind of interoperability towards the European systems and the European, large car OEMs especially.
Yeah. Maybe in summary, what we can say, it's like a very relevant topic. I mean, you need data to train AI models, for instance. So that's relevant. And the better the data set you have, the better is also the quality of your model. Mm-hmm. So, every big nation tries to find its own way of dealing with, how can we get the data? There are pros and cons, but in the end, it's still relevant and very interesting also to speak to people from different nations and to see how are they doing it? How are they dealing with this topic? And very relevant, very interesting.
It's an international challenge.
Yeah, it is. It is. And kind of, it's also maybe one thing that might be interesting is that we did one study, where we actually discussed with a number of, manufacturing OEMs and their suppliers. And people, related or, working in that field. And the results were kind of interesting in that sense that when we asked about, so what are your kind of viewpoints towards kind of federated data ecosystems and data spaces, the answers, were that, we're not sure about, are they actually kind of mature enough, can they produce value, a lot of concerns. But then on the other hand, when we discussed about, so how do you want to use your data and, your partner's data, etc., their vision of the perfect way of doing this, was, almost 100% aligned, with the capabilities and the value promise of data spaces. So there is a match, yet we haven't cracked, like as Europe and as kind of academia as well, like how to really get there, like there's a match in intentions. And I think, like that's a very promising start.
Yeah. Yeah, to probably tell the story right then in the end, right? So it's not about like technicalities, but more about the business value that you're getting out of it. So yeah, so that's what we need to do, like tell the story right. So
sounds like a really interesting topic of research.
Yeah, sorry.
Quite diverse.
That's fine. But maybe we can just take one step back and look at the beginning of your collaboration. And maybe you can just tell me, how did it start? What brought you to Germany and to Fraunhofer ISST in the first place?
Yeah, I think, like there was a discussion that we had, like with my Marko Turpeinen, one of my doctor fathers, and Fredrik Möller, like the idea of, like research exchange, like was then introduced. And then I met a number of, like the local people, like in Higgs conference in Hawaii. And one thing led to another, and we were able to kind of agree on that, okay, so I can come here for half a year. We got introduced in a project we were trying to kind of get going between Aalto and Fraunhofer. And it's, by the way, still ongoing.
Which project?
It's in the data collection phase still, as it sometimes seems to be. But yeah, I think, like if I would have to kind of pinpoint, like it started, like with the conversation through Fredrik, I believe, somewhere, about a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and for us, I think it was unfortunate that we started working on this project together, and then we realized, hey, we could utilize this data we were planning to use then, and our research is very close to each other. So, and then Teemu said, by the way, in next month I'm in Dortmund, so we could continue this together. So things played out, and that was very fortunate then, and it's fun, as I said.
Sounds spontaneous.
Yeah. Well, I was quite surprised. Like, this guy coming over.
But things turned out good.
Yeah. Well,
so that's fine.
and like again, like kind of, I just happened to be in the right time of like my life with my kind of kids moving out and stuff like that. So I had time in my hands, and anyways, like kind of wanted to do a little bit of a research stint.
But now, unfortunately, your time here with us at Fraunhofer ISST is almost over. Maybe you can tell us what stood out most to you about your time here in Germany, and both in terms of your research and also about living in Dortmund and working with Julian, maybe?
Yeah, well, like if you kind of post a question like that, like I cannot open that up, like with anything else but the colleagues. But I think that's about right. So people here, like everyone's been really kind of helpful, like patient with my Rammstein Deutsch and like really kind of helping and it goes, like all the way, like from people, like working the desks all the way to Boris. So kind of access has been there, like there's been help, etc. So that's a thing, and something that like I hope to kind of pay back. Like if one of the people here come to Finland, and I also like the way that the PhD research is supported here. So there's a structured process of like kind of how things are going, and kind of collegial commenting, like on a regular basis. So that's something that's been really, really good, and something that like maybe the Aalto side could also a bit learn from. Now that I said out loud, I need to say that, like, well, I'm a bit unusual as I started, like I started my PhD in 1998 and then life happened and now I'm back at it. So I didn't go through the kind of regular process, probably kind of broke, like many steps there, but, like still here.
Sometimes it's not the direct way.
Yeah, it's probably not the easiest way either, but, like it's been, let's say, interesting. And of course, like I'm a football fan, so FAB has been a big part of my life being here. It's, like kind of corresponds to my team Kuopion Palloseura in Finland. So their FAB is the Cups of Germany. That's a compliment.
Okay.
and kind of, like also kind of finding out my life here. So I have a gym, I have a place where I can go wrestle, Ritnung. All the guys, they are really friendly, but really tough. So it's been, they're pushing me, like on the spare time, and these guys are pushing me, like on the research side. And, I really like it that we actually kind of, we don't always agree, and we can have, like quite clear disagreements, and typically, like something something new at least, like if not good comes out of those conversations. And it's not only Julian, but others as well, like again, Tobias and Ilkka and others as well.
Sounds like you had a good experience here.
Absolutely. I'm loving it.
Very
Sometimes
good.
a blue eye from wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's normal. That's normal. That tells that I did something wrong.
You already mentioned somebody visiting you in Finland, so maybe that's a question for Julian. Do you already think about some exchange and having a time in Finland?
Like no one else here.
Yeah, we are planning that. I mean, it makes sense. We're still figuring out to which point in time. Probably later this year. I still need to check here internally, but I think it's a good opportunity. I mean, we have now seen over the last couple of months that you can progress much faster if you're sitting together in the office and have like a whiteboard together and then scrabble on or think about some ideas and then bring that into structure. So the ideation process is much faster and obviously also to see a nice face from time to time.
Yeah, that's actually...
That's not you.
With blue eyes.
I know. Like you were talking about Verena, right?
All right. Yeah. No, but that's planned and looking forward to that. And I mean, as we're progressing with the PhD, we also need to write our monography. So there are also things we still have to do. So, yeah.
So you will stay in contact.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Let's see, like if we can kind of establish a kind of a lakeside, like kind of writing camp, like somewhere, like in Finland side. So that
sounds promising.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I come too.
Yeah. But just a warning, there will be manual labor as well.
Ooh. That's the way I pay.
So, what's your conclusion about 5 months of your exchange? Would you do it again?
Absolutely. Let's see if I get the funding. No, really, I would definitely recommend it. And well, I've heard different stories about kind of people going abroad and getting the kind of large enough of a network really helps. And also, me being naturally introvert, like kind of getting to know a lot of new people is sometimes kind of taxing, but something that would definitely kind of recommend, like everyone doing. So kind of talking to people and kind of introducing yourself. And quite often, like the world is such a small place, so there's always a connection, like, and you don't always need Kevin Pagan there, like between, but there's some interest of, like, okay, so both like football or, like, someone has been in Finland and they know something, like some, like good or bad words in Finnish and kind of started from there. So
I think that's a good conclusion.
Bad words.
So I'm sorry, but I think that brings us to the end of our conversation for today.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Teemu and Julian, for your time and the comprehensive insight into your joint research and your friendship, I think, you've gained over the last few months. I think you are a wonderful example of how science knows no boundaries and how looking beyond one's own horizons is an enrichment for everyone. So have a great few last days here in Germany, Teemu, and after that, I wish you a gute Rückreise.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you,
Thank you, Britta.
Thank you.
Was gibt es sonst noch Berichtenswertes aus der Welt der Daten? Dazu nun 3 Nachrichten, 3 Minuten mit meiner Kollegin Charlotte Neiperk. Hallo Charlotte, was hast du uns heute an Neuigkeiten mitgebracht?
Hallo Britta, ich möchte euch zunächst auf ein Webinar am 15. Juli hinweisen. Experten vom Fraunhofer ISST werden dort zeigen, wie KI-Modelle gemeinsam trainiert werden können und wie sie bei Bedarf auch wieder vergessen können, was sie gelernt haben. Dieses sogenannte Unlearning, also das gezielte Vergessen von Wissen in KI-Modellen, schafft Sicherheit für Unternehmen, die gemeinsam KI-Modelle entwickeln möchten. Denn gerade in industriellen Anwendungsfällen reichen die Daten eines einzelnen Unternehmens oft nicht aus, um ein leistungsfähiges KI-Modell zu trainieren. Das Unlearning schafft zusätzliche Sicherheit, wenn Unternehmen das gemeinsame Modell wieder verlassen oder ihre Daten künftig nicht mehr einbringen möchten. Unsere nächste Veranstaltungsempfehlung knüpft direkt an eine aktuelle gemeinsame Studie des Fraunhofer ISST und Accenture an. Unter dem Titel Daten als Produktionsfaktor haben wir untersucht, welchen wirtschaftlichen Mehrwert Datenökosysteme für Unternehmen schaffen können und wie sich dieser Nutzen systematisch erschließen lässt. Die wichtigsten Erkenntnisse werden am 9. Juli in einem halbstündigen Lunchtalk der Plattform Industrie 4.0 kompakt vorgestellt und diskutiert. Unsere letzte News für heute ist ein Glückwunsch, denn die International Data Spaces Association, kurz IDSA, feiert in diesem Jahr ihren 10. Geburtstag. Das Fraunhofer ISST war von Anfang an der Entwicklung der Datenraumidee beteiligt und hat auch die Gründung der IDSA intensiv begleitet. Wir freuen uns sehr über die Entwicklung, die die Datenraum-Community in den vergangenen 10 Jahren genommen hat und gratulieren herzlich zum Jubiläum.
Vielen Dank, Charlotte. Da gibt es definitiv noch viele weitere Innovationen aus Daten zu entdecken. Die Links zu den Beiträgen, die Charlotte im Nachrichtenteil vorgestellt hat, findet ihr alle in den Shownotes. Ja, und damit sind wir tatsächlich auch schon am Ende dieser Folge angelangt. Falls es euch gefallen hat, reist gerne weiter mit uns durch die Welt der Datenökosysteme und abonniert die Datenräumer auf der Podcast-Plattform eurer Wahl. Wir freuen uns auch über Feedback, zum Beispiel per Mail an podcast@isst.fraunhofer.de. Das findet ihr auch nochmal als Kontaktangabe in den Shownotes. Für heute jetzt erst einmal vielen Dank fürs Zuhören und wir hören uns nächsten Monat mit einer neuen Folge.